Hello there, and welcome back to the booth here at the World Magic Cup. Marshall Sutcliffe with Simon Gertzen, and we're heading into Stage 1, Round 2. And this is where we're now in the double elimination stage of the tournament, so the players and the teams have a little bit more to give, but still every match has a ton of weight on it, and we've got a huge one for you here. We've got France versus the United States, and they are ready. Let's head out of the feature match area right now. Hello and welcome to coverage of the World Magic Cup. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Simon Gertzen, and we're rowdy. We're ready for Stage 1, Round 2, where we've got the United States. Take a look at Owen Turtenwald looking particularly excited about this opening hand. We'll tell you about that in just a moment. His opponent, on the other hand, that is Kevin Sauvageon, and he's playing Bant Eldrazi. Owen is on really a deck that he has played a ton with, Infect, though. He had to mulligan to 6. Kept a no-lander, put an Inkmoth Nexus on top of his library is what we were told. Or on the bottom, sorry. All right, looks like he is going to have to do things the hard way here for Owen Turtenwald. He's leading things off with the Gitaxian Probe. Let's take a look at what's in his hand. That's a no-lander.
He needs a green source. Then he has a Noble Hierarch. He can deploy everything.
Wow. So, like, this whole game could come down to this, right? Like, yes. If he finds a green source here, he's kind of off. And if he doesn't... Oh, and he did! It's a breeding pool.
Well done.
Ding, as we say in the business.
16.
Also, if you're playing against Bant Eldrazi, the main removal spell you have to consider is Path to Exile. Mm-hmm. So even if that Hierarch dies, it wouldn't really... make much of a difference.
Taking a look at what's going on the other side of the table, now, speaking of lands being important, I always tend to look at the Bant Eldrazi openers and see if they've got that Eldrazi Temple. That's what really leads to those explosive starts, though they're still capable of good draws with the Noble Hierarchs and such. And it looks like no Temple this time, at least not yet. But a turn 2 Eldrazi Sky Spawner for Kevin is a very solid start for him, no problem.
Oh yeah, and
but a Blighted Agent is exactly what Owen Turtenwald wanted to see here, so good news for him. As you see on turn 2 that Kevin already has 3 creatures littering the board as potential blockers for, say, a Glistener Elf. And Owen is going to be able to just bypass all of those and maybe even put together a win here.
No, Kevin needs to be very aggressive here, either racing the Blighted Agent, or he needs to try to set up some kind of lock with Eldrazi Displacer. Well, those are his 2 options.
He has the tools here to be very aggressive. He can cast right now Reality Smasher if he'd like.
Attack for 7.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting in Kevin's seat.
You are facing an opponent on 16, so you would be hoping to maybe top deck another Reality Smasher.
Mm.
But that seems more likely to win you the game than to go for Eldrazi Displacer, because the Infect deck has so many ways to protect their creatures nowadays.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. He's going to get in for 4 here to drop Owen down to 12. This lets him cast the Eldrazi Displacer and guarantee that he can still cast the Reality Smasher next turn, presenting a much bigger board state. Still no additional land here for Turtenwald. He's just got the 2 mana sources with the Blighted Agent. I mean, there are ways to win even from here.
Oh, absolutely.
A pair of Might of Old Crosses would do the trick. He's got 1.
He's very close to winning. I would assume that he wants to use his mana as aggressively as possible this turn, so that next turn when there is the Eldrazi Displacer activation, he can respond with Blossoming Defense or Vines of Vestra.
Yeah, that's 7 poison right there.
Go.
And now, if Kevin doesn't draw Path to Exile, I think it's already over.
Right. He will be able to attack for a ton of damage this turn, but the Hierarch can block if it needs to, and Owen just seems to have have it all here. Even though his hand in his opening sequence was not particularly great, he still has 2 Glistener Elves that are just going to go to waste in his hand. Those aren't even going to do anything. He never hit his second land drop. And it looks like he might just pick up the win here anyway.
But the key is that he's holding 2 ways to protect his Blighted Agent.
Right.
Because the way Kevin played, he went for this plan of having 6 mana available to really pressure that Blighted Agent. I don't think it's going to be enough.
No, it doesn't look like it. Owen Turtenwald with Blossoming Defense and Vines of Vastwood in his hand.
You can tell how differently you have to play that Infect deck. Against a deck like Bant Eldrazi, you actively want to tap out to put more pressure on them the turn after. Against other decks, you would never do that because your Blighted Agent would just die to a Lightning Bolt.
Eldrazi? Yep.
Like you said, Kevin faced a decision the last turn of whether to go super aggressive and play the Reality Smasher or whether to set up for this Eldrazi Displacer scenario, and he's gone for that. And you can see why, but unfortunately for him, Owen does have the tools needed. He's going to play Blossoming Defense. Now, this can get activated in response, forcing Owen to have it, but he does. He's got Vines of Vastwood. And that's all he needs to do is just play it. And that means that the Blossoming Defense is going to resolve, and that's 3. It's actually more than 3. All right, so that was a quick game 1. No lands needed for Owen Turtenwald. He finds the win to give Team USA an early advantage here in the first of the double elimination rounds against France. We'll be back after these messages.
Compete for your spot at the Magic Pro Tour and challenge the best players in the world. Pro Tour qualifier tournaments are available on Magic Online. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
Put your game to the test at a Grand Prix. These Magic celebrations are headlined by 2-day open tournaments with the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Find an upcoming Grand Prix near you at magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix.
And welcome back to the feature match area here at the World Magic Cup. We're in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Simon Gertzen here, and we've got Table A action on USA versus France. We've got Kevin Jones playing his signature Grixis Delver deck up against Raphael Levy playing Dredge, which is, he loves decks like this, actually. You know, any of these graveyard interaction decks, you'll see him gravitate towards them, and boy, has he found a home here in Modern with this deck.
Yeah, and he used to play it even before it became such a feared tier 1 deck in the metagame, but
now it's actually good.
It's really, really good. I don't really know how Kevin is planning to beat this deck in game one.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's not. Those Bloodghast got the job done, and Kevin Jones just fell from 7 to 0 life to give game one of that match to Raph. That also, by the way, is in addition to the game one that Guillaume Perbet won against Paul Yim. So of the first games, 2 of them went to France, 1 of them to the United States. That was Owen Turtenwald winning that game that we watched in the feature match. So
Small lead for France.
right. It's going to put us into shuffle mode here, it looks like, which means that as the players are getting ready, we're going to go back to our main table, Owen Turtenwald versus Kevin Sauvageant. So we'll see Bant Eldrazi versus Infect once again. Owen Turtenwald really putting together a win with not a lot to work with there and kind of easily cruising to the victory, even through a full curve out from his opponent.
Because he found that breeding pool on top of his library.
That's right.
That was absolutely crucial, of course.
Yeah, that whole game came down to that.
I can tell you that Kevin Jones, with his Grixis Delver deck, has 4 Leyline of the Void in his sideboard. So those games after sideboarding will be a lot more about sideboard hate, because you just can't keep up with playing Delvers against a deck that pumps everything into their graveyard, and then it comes back and back and back.
Okay, yeah, we'll see how that match goes, and maybe we'll be able to stop back in. In the meantime, maybe a mulligan here from Kevin. Looks like Owen's got his opening hand all ready to go. A rare smile from Owen Turtenwald while playing. Now, outside the feature match area, he smiles all the time. He's actually a really funny guy. But when he's in business mode, not so much.
Oh, but I appreciate that. He knows what he wants, and
You're like that too, you know.
in a sense, yes.
You know, when you play. I like it too. I think it's good.
It's just, you shouldn't take it. It doesn't really say much about the personality outside of the game. It's really just game mode.
Especially for you, Simon. You are wild, man. Simon was dancing on the bus on the way over here this morning.
None of this is true.
Barely able to contain him, but you put him in the booth and he calms down. All right, looks like we are underway here. Here's Kevin firing off a Noble Hierarch on turn 1. Let's see if Owen has one of his own. Yeah, he does, but he's also got a Gitaxian Probe that he wants to play first so that he knows exactly what he's dealing with. You know, a few of the things he's going to be looking for are, first, probably just Path to Exile, seeing if he has it or not at this point in the game. And then also what he can expect from the next few turns. And again, we see no Eldrazi Temple. So as the hand currently sits, he's going to be able to cast the Displacer next turn, but not the Thought-Knot Seer.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what to make of this Bant Eldrazi deck. It seems with the Temple, it's one of the most unfair decks. Without, it always feels a little bit too fair. But I know there are some of the best players in the game right now who really like it. So I trust their judgment that it's a really good deck.
Yeah, the way I've heard it described is that if it doesn't have the Temple, it plays out as maybe a deck in the mid-range variety that's a little bit behind where you'd want to be with, like, say, the Abzons and the Juns and that type of deck. But when you do have the Temple, it has these explosive starts that are just very difficult to deal with for most decks. You're not quite free-rolling it, but it's close.
Mm-hmm. And Noble Hierarch is a super powerful card as well. So.
And we're going to see the power of it here, because who needs a Temple? Turn 2 Eldrazi Displacer anyway.
Owen was facing the classic decision whether to start with the Glistener Elf or with the Noble Hierarch. And usually the decision favors the mana. Mana development.
Interesting here as well, Owen found a Dismember with his draw step there. He has the mana to cast it as well, but he chose not to cast it on his turn. He could take out the Hierarch to crimp the mana, or he could just kill the Displacer straight away. He chose not to.
Getting rid of the Displacer, if Kevin keeps open mana, is especially juicy.
Yeah, now the decision, of course, though, comes down to Owen. He's also got of Vines of Vastwood in his hand. Let's take a look at what he's working with. So that Vines, he's able to leave that up here as well as an additional insurance policy.
He might just want to dismember a Thought-Knot Seer because he knows that's the natural curve that Kevin showed him.
Yeah, and he is aware that he's going to be facing down a Thought-Knot Seer here.
Now that Infect is generally playing a lot of ways to protect their creatures, they have always done that, but now there's Blossoming Defense, so you really have a lot of options. I think the 3-mana activated ability of Eldrazi Displacer is not as scary as it used to be. And we haven't seen a lot of Spellskites this weekend. Maybe 1 or 2 games I've seen one, but ultimately not as many as I would have expected.
Yeah. Okay, there's a Noble Hierarch number 2, enabling an attack for 5. Pretty hefty swing there.
I like racing the Infect deck, or trying to race the Infect deck.
Hey, Spellskite indeed. Okay. Well, it looks like Owen's found his target for that that Dismember.
Yeah, not quite Twisted Image, but
Yeah.
you just want to get rid of it.
He does need to have a solid plan, though, for actually getting Kevin dead here, because that's going to cost him a lot of life, putting him all the way down to 9. He just took 5 that last turn.
I think he might have a solid plan next turn.
Just to get the job done.
To just attack for 10.
Kevin's passed the turn back to Owen, so Owen's going to crack this fetch land.
This is the one moment where you could see your Blighted Agent get pathed, but if not, I don't see what the Bund Eldrazi deck will do against Might of Old Croza attack for 10.
Yeah, and as you can see, Kevin does not have the requisite mana to activate his Eldrazi Displacer there either, so I think we're going to see Owen get a clean 2-0 victory here over the Bant Eldrazi deck of Kevin. Owen finds another Noble Hierarch, but here we go, Might of Old Croza. That makes it a 5/5. That makes it 9, plus 1 from the Noble Hierarch. That's 10.
Maybe I'm just mulliganing for 4.
And Kevin has to just extend the hand. So Owen Turtenwald takes down that critical match 1 for Team United States. And he really did need to take that down because his teammates both lost their game 1s to Raph and to Guillaume. So that was an important step for Team USA here. Now we are in the double elimination stage of the tournament here. So even with a loss, either of these teams is not eliminated. But, wow, you really don't want to pick up a win here first thing in the morning. Let's take a look at Paul Yim versus Guillaume Perbet. That is Affinity for Guillaume versus Green-White Tron, of all things, for Paul. There's the look of a Tron player counting to 7.
Okay, guys, you good stuff.
And this is going to be game number 2 with Guillaume up a game. Not shocked to see that either.
No.
Affinity versus Tron.
Especially the green-white variety. If you have Pyroclasms, if you're a green-red Tron, I think your matchup against Affinity is not bad. But the green-white deck, I don't really think it has the right tools.
Wow, he's got a lot of Tron pieces in his hand here. There's a power plant. He's already got a mine on the battlefield. With the map, he can go get the 3rd piece if he doesn't already have it anyway. This could be an explosive start to the game for Paul Yim. Perhaps just going over the top of Guillaume. Decent start, though, for Guillaume as well. He gets to chip in for a couple of damage here. Drop Paul down to 18.
By the way, Kevin Jones and Grixis Delver, we are seeing a mulligan to 3.
3.
He's found his leyline, though.
Do you think that's what he was mulliganing for?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right, well, we'll keep you updated on that match as we go. He does, in fact, have a leyline on the battlefield, so if that works. There's the tower now here for Paul Yim. So this is a tower completing what we call Urzatron, hence the name Tron. And that is going to net him a total of 7 mana. It's all colorless. Wow, he's got a ton of mana. I wonder if he has a payoff for it.
He has an Ulamog, but that payoff
costs
card
more than 7, yeah.
is going to arrive next turn at the earliest. He doesn't have another play. He can cycle Chromatic Sphere, but I don't think there is something big coming this turn.
One floating.
So this gives him a colored mana, maybe a green mana. Should he top deck a Nature's Claim?
He found an Ancient Stirrings.
I'll use green.
That works. Maybe he'll find some action with that. Worm Coil Engine, okay. I did see he found an Oblivion Stone, in fact, a pair of them.
Oblivion Stone is actually huge. You actively want this card, and we've seen it be very relevant in exactly this matchup because it deals with everything that's not an Inkmoth Nexus on this battlefield.
By the way, that hand that you saw come in and point at the Oblivion Stone, that was Owen Turnwald's hand. He's sitting next to Paul, coaching him along. And there it is. Oblivion Stone.
And once again,
the sweeper of choice for these decks.
oh, it's actually a really important piece to the puzzle of playing Tron decks. You can play it quite early and then threaten the activation, but you can also just use it as an 8 mana sweeper. And for example, Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, doesn't really do that because of how. Because of the colorless permanence, of course.
Now, this is a big turn for Guillaume, but things are getting sketchy for him. He's going to activate his Steel Overseer, put a counter on a bunch of creatures, including even an Inkmoth that didn't attack.
Oh, this is huge. He is getting in for 2 poison.
Yeah.
4 poison the next turn, and then he's threatening lethal. And it's actually not so easy if you are just sitting there with Oblivion Stones, for example. You will not be able to stop that.
No. Ulamog will, though.
Yeah, and that could be the big problem here. For example, first casting Ulamog and just exiling both of these Inkmoth Nexus, you can be almost sure that you're not going to die to that attack.
Now, he does need another tower to cast it this turn, though, and I don't know that he has one, right?
I thought he got an extra tower.
Okay, we'll find out shortly here.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I think the Tron lands that he had before cracking the map were non-tower Tron lands, but we will find out shortly.
And in that case,
it'll be next turn.
He'll just resort to using the Oblivion Stone this turn. So
right, and not take lethal poison next turn. Okay, he did have to play a land to play the Sylvan Scrying, so he won't be able to play that here, but there's a Ghost Quarter as another backup plan as well. Yeah, this one's starting to look pretty good for Paul Yim. That Oblivion Stone wiping away so many permanents from Guillaume's board, leaving him with just the lands left.
I'm at 6 poison.
Another big hit of poison, but that's probably the last one, because Ulamog is going to take care of that problem.
Worldbreaker also a nice...
Oh, yeah,
nice
Worldbreaker too. All right, and there it is. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. Who's ready for lunch? Boom. Those 2 lands now get exiled. And Ulamog also does short work of your opponent. Although Guillaume, he's at 21. So I'll turn off the clock, assuming his library holds up. Yeah, and that is going to do it. Guillaume Perbet is going to scoop up his permanents. Paul Yim on the play versus Affinity gets the job done with a Tron-heavy start. Able to assemble all 3 of them on turn 3 and then capitalize on that mana advantage as he went through. Did get pretty fortunate there, though, with the Ancient Stirrings. Like, that's the turn when he had the green mana from the star and then ran it up from there. But that's going to even things up in that match. So Paul Yim and Guillaume Perbet are going to prepare for their game 3 if necessary. On the other hand, we had a really interesting start. You mentioned it earlier, Simon. He mulliganed to 3, Kevin Jones.
He needed to find Leyline of the Void. and that's what he did. Going down to 3 is scary, but as you can see, his draw developed quite nicely, considering the circumstances.
Doesn't look good for him here, though. He's facing 3 evasive threats that he apparently has no blockers for. And he's at 5 life.
It's one of the problems, you know. Leyline of the Void is amazing against Dredge, but it will not stop everything.
By the way, that represents lethal damage. That Bloodghast is going to have haste here. So Mana Leak is a requirement from Jones. But even with that, Raph Levy happily chips in there for 3 more damage, bringing Kevin down to 2. And it's hard to imagine a way for Kevin to get out of this. Our floor reporter Tim Willoughby had a chat with Kevin yesterday, and Kevin said he only really thinks that there's 3 very bad matchups for him, and this happens to be one of them, the Dredge matchup.
Understandably,
Yeah.
when your game 1 is so lopsided, even boarding in 4 ley lines will not really solve things for you.
It's easy. You're on 2. Yeah, 2. I'm on 11. You're on 2.
Oh, you.
So if Kevin doesn't find something here, then it's going to be a deciding game between Green, White, Tron, and Affinity.
That's right. 2 decks representing much different approaches to getting the job done in Modern. Of course, highlighting, one of the really cool things about Modern.
Note that the Affinity deck put a lot of permanence onto the battlefield, but not a lot of power. So only with the turn 2 Steel Overseer, turn 3 activation, and that gave the Tron player the time to stabilize. Now with Affinity on the play, we are looking at a completely different game.
Yes. Yeah, you'd have to give the edge to Affinity in that,
Oh yeah, I know, but like.
assuming that Kevin doesn't find a way out of this mess.
Oh, you're not doing too bad. All right, I'll
Ralph is making sure that he's got everything
I don't know.
covered.
This you're on 2. This you make it. Yes. Probably shuffle it.
Well, France enjoying themselves here. I guess I would be too if I was this far ahead in a game. And in fact, my match. Kevin found himself Serum Visions, it looks like. Well, see what he can find. He found another copy of Tassiger, if I saw correctly.
He would have needed that Tassigur's,
Yeah.
Colorgan's command.
Yeah, he just didn't have anything to work with there. And that is Raph Levy winning 2-0 over Kevin Jones and giving France their first match win. Now, as far as who's going to win the round, that's going to be decided on Paul Yim versus Guillaume Perbet. Like you said a minute ago, Green White Tron versus Affinity with Affinity on the play. You got to give the edge to France here.
Absolutely. I think both teams know this. It doesn't mean that you're just going to roll over and die, but the Tron deck has to find the right pieces. Has not only Tron, but also some early disruption and then the heavy hitters to close out the game.
Did you aggressively mulligan for a ley line?
I did. I did, and at a certain point.
Looking at the sideboard here for Paul.
Too bad. So I could
3 Blessed Alliance, a Ghost Quarter, 3 Nature's Claim.
you're priced in a, like, I
We'll see those. Ravenous Trap, Rest in Peace, 2 Thrag Tusk, which can help a little bit, and then 3 copies of Warping Whale. Is that a card we'll see?
I'm not sure.
It's an interesting
It seems a little bit narrow to me, even though it does a lot of different things. I would suspect it's not for this matchup.
Yeah, only if you had cards that you just really didn't want otherwise.
The problem is you can really only use one mode against Affinity, and Affinity's creatures are known to grow in size, so power toughness 1 or less might change really quickly with Arcbound Ravagers or Master of Ethereum.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? It looks pretty good against a lot of the things that you face until you realize that it is not static. That changes a lot.
It is very possible though that it's in Paul Yeam's deck after sideboarding, simply because you don't need certain cards.
Yeah.
For example, I think Ugin the Spirit Dragon is a card that you can easily replace.
Yeah, I see he's got 2 Relic of Progenitus here.
Not sure what you were gonna play. So like,
Maybe he trims down on some of the high-end cards. You know, he's got 2 Ulamogs, 2 World Breakers, 2 Wormcoil Engines.
Wormcoil Engine also not as good.
I know, it seems like it would be so great, doesn't it, against Affinity, but they just have too many ways to sacrifice things or...
It looks good because it's the nightmare of every aggro deck.
Yeah.
But Affinity is not a typical aggro deck, and it has an Infect combo kill as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
a lot of evasion, Infect, Inkmoth Nexus.
All right, looks like Paul's kept... Is that a 6 or a 5? I think a 6-card hand. So he has 1 Tron piece with a few... Ooh, there's 2 Tron pieces, actually. He's got a tower and now a power plant. He also has the map. This could be good for him.
Mulliganing to 6 and with such a redundant deck is not a disaster.
Yeah, and he's going to have Tron on turn 3 if he wants it.
The real question is if he can actually deploy something.
Yes, that's the question. And if it's something that matches up well against the start that Guillaume has. And this is a huge turn. You'll often see this from Affinity. You know, turn 1, you're like, oh, I can deal with that. But then turn 2, all of a sudden you're facing down this. That's a lot. You know, this cranial plating represents a ton of damage next turn. And this is going to be a tough one for United States and Paul Yeam, but he may have the tools to get the job done. He drew another tower. Apparently, Raph Levy has stepped away. He says, I trust my teammates, but I can't watch.
I think that's a good way to approach this.
I couldn't do it.
You couldn't watch or you couldn't go away?
I couldn't go away. I have to know.
You're not Raph Levy.
I am definitely not Raph Levy, yeah. I would be sitting right there. Tim Willoughby, our sideline reporter, said actually, looks like he can't either. He just walked back over there to see what was going on.
Yeah, but I think he will not be...
Oh, and he walked away again.
He will not be very active.
Yes, he's going to stay out of it. He says he trusts them. Also, there is a limit.
Exactly.
Right? Like the too many cooks in the kitchen.
So Guillaume has a very interesting turn here, or very interesting sequencing decisions. He has blue mana. He's holding a Spell Pierce, but also a Master of Ethereum. This turn, he also wants to equip the plating, and he can even already think about getting in for Infect damage. So this is 3 crucial decisions, basically. How do you plan your upcoming turns? And this is what makes Affinity so difficult to play.
Yes. Well, we can see that he's going to play non-blue mana source here. So that answers one of those questions. Let's see what he does here. He is going for the Infect kill, though, Simon. He doesn't have it yet.
So 1 damage.
1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 poison.
Did he activate the Blink Moth as well to add another artifact, or did he have to use the mana for that?
He needed all that mana.
Okay.
This is a bit risky against Karn, I feel like.
Okay.
But
that was 6 poison total. Okay.
Because of
the
Citadel.
base power and tough. Yeah, and the Citadel. Right. Well, he's trying to set up the turn 2, the second turn kill here.
It's close.
The old 1-2 punch.
Sometimes you just have to do exactly that, because if Paul is sitting there with a bunch of World Breakers, Ulamogs, Oblivion Stones, there are a lot of cards in the green-white Tron deck that actually do not beat this particular setup.
Mm-hmm.
And if, for example, there is a green source for a Nature's Claim, you can still change direction, just attack for damage, and hold back the Inkmoth Nexus, similar to what we see with Infect a lot of times. Just use it when it's actually safe to do so.
Interesting, the Expedition map is getting cracked. Let's see what he gets. He's actually going to go get the Ghost Quarter here. He can't afford to set up Tron. He needs to defend against this poison kill that's looming over his life total for next turn. He's also got a redundant, well, I should just say an extra copy of Expedition Map in his hand too that he can then use to set up Tron as well.
I played Infect at the very first Modern Pro Tour, and I was playing Affinity, and
This was Philadelphia?
exactly where
Wait,
people,
were you playing Infect with like the
No, I played
Shoal?
Affinity.
Oh, you played Affinity, excuse me.
So I certainly wasn't playing the best deck in the room.
Okay.
But I realized quickly that I just had to very often go for these kind of 5/5
I see.
infect kills because the decks were just so powerful and so fast.
So Owen, once again, lending help to Paul Yim. These are incredibly tense moments for the teams because you've got your teammates literally sitting behind you, watching you play. That's not something that most people are used to. And especially in matchups like this where you can just die out of nowhere. Another cranial plating off the top for Guillaume Perbet. You just don't have any wiggle room here.
That could be a ton of damage. I don't know if you want to tap out with the hand that Perbet is holding. But land, plating, equip. That's just threatening a 2-turn clock on the damage side as well.
Regular damage, yeah.
The good thing is dropping a Ghost Quarter basically sets back the Tron player by a lot of mana. It's not a cheap land drop to make.
Yes.
He could have gone from 2 to 7. Said he went from 2 to 3.
And is effectively going to go from 2 to 2.
And next turn, yeah, he had the maximum he will have is 8. So you're not concerned about Ulamog.
Now-
Even Worldbreaker is not going to happen.
Does Guillaume have to force this issue, though? Does he have to say, okay, I'm going to make my Inkmoth a threat? Because if he doesn't, then Paul gets that mana to use the map and, has it for next turn.
I don't think he has to know.
Okay.
I think it's... I would actually prefer not to because he isn't spending his turn very, very well.
By doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
An interesting spot is when you have double black available.
Yes, which he only has one right now, but yeah, okay, and it's just a basic mountain, which is what we'll often see out of the Affinity. If he would have gotten a swamp there, though, he could have moved that plating around. But he doesn't have that option. Okay, well, all told, that Ghost Quarter did good work here for Paul Yim. This means that he's taking one regular damage rather than lethal poison. He's got to be happy with that. Still, you've got to feel the pressure here for Paul Yim. A second cranial plating adding to that pressure. There's that Ulamog on the top of his hand. What did he draw? A Path to Exile.
This is where you need your Chromatic Spheres or Chromatic Stars.
Which he has. He's actually got one of each in his hand right now, Simon. Take a look at that. An Oblivion Stone. Something that put all that mana in after he does get Tron fully set up.
I'm at 17.
Now, Guillaume isn't threatening lethal here in any capacity, right? 1,
No.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13. Pretty tough to imagine that he could get through. So Paul really has to try to set himself up the absolute best. The other problem, with the Path to Exile plan is that those platings, he's got 2 different things. In fact, 3 that he can put the platings on over the course of the next few turns.
What
He
you-
can even distribute his threats.
What he really wants to get is the Blinkmoth Nexus.
He wants to nab that so that his Oblivion Stone cleans up the rest. All right, here we go. Chromatic Star, go. So he is leaving up Path. If you're Paul, also, are you assuming that was the only basic land there for the Affinity player?
There's either an island or a mountain, sometimes both.
Okay, so not 100%.
Actually, I think islands are more common. So if somebody gets a mountain, it could mean that they have an island in their list. But usually, it's difficult to fit in 2 basics into your Affinity decks.
Okay. All right, there's Blinkmoth Nexus activated here from Guillaume Perbet. And like we said, he's going to kind of distribute out these cranial platings.
Yeah, and that's the turn that I thought, or similar to the turn that I thought we would see a turn earlier.
Yeah, the interesting thing from Paul is, like you said, he wants to get rid of the Blinkmoth Nexus, but that does have him take significant amount of damage here from the other two creatures, though non-lethal.
6 artifacts for the Affinity player means there's 6 plus 7 plus 1, 14 points of damage coming in.
Right, now if he does kill the Blinkmoth, though, that will reduce that by 3.
Let me see if I can find the list.
I'll take it.
So, the mountain signifies galvanic blasts, of
Yes.
which there are 3 in the main deck.
By the way, he took it.
And there's no island in the deck list.
This is interesting. So Paul is going to use the mana here to crack his expedition map.
Yeah, he needs to get Tron online.
Yes.
And
This does give him a ton of mana, including Ulamog.
so you're probably forced to get both platings with that Ulamog.
Right.
And I'm afraid you will die to Master of Ethereum with that
Yes,
time.
that's right. And that would, in fact, force Paul Yim to completely tap out. Let's see if he's got any other options. Does the Oblivion Stone work any better?
It wouldn't leave you dead.
Okay.
It takes out 4 really, really good permanents,
Yeah.
and then you're only taking 1 from Blinkmoth Nexus.
Right. Because if he plays the Master first, then you get to kill that too anyway. So interesting. That seems like a better play here.
Yes. But the question is, what you want to beat and how you can beat it.
Right. Wow, this is so close. Paul Yim down to 3. He's also got 6 poison.
No, it's not possible.
If you're casting the Oblivion Stone, the best thing about it is that you can leave it open, as you said, and you even get to keep up mana for Path to Exile.
Oh, you can do both.
Yeah, so that's just far superior to casting Ulamog and leaving yourself on Virtual 1.
Right. Wow, another cranial plating for Guillaume. But now that he's seen that Oblivion Stone, his job is pretty clear. He just has to force lethal and make Paul use the Oblivion Stone. Paul's got the Chromatic Star that he can cycle. He can make white mana with it, but he won't be able to float that through the way that he'd really like. So instead, he's just going to let it die and just get the card out of it. When it goes to the graveyard, he gets to draw a card. So that works for him. Okay, so Paul Yim takes 0 damage that turn. But he does still has to contend with some threats here. The Master of Ethereum could come down, as well as he may be looking at a cranial plating and a Blinkmoth Nexus, which can be difficult to deal with. Though now all of a sudden Ulamog looks pretty nice.
Exactly. And we don't know how many Galvanic Blasts are still in pair base there.
It's suddenly become very relevant, hasn't it, Simon? Oh man, this is close.
3 cards now.
Yim has only colorless sources, but he has exactly 1 Chromatic Sphere again. So that could be the backup card he needs.
Okay, so here it is. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, is going to take down Blinkmoth and the Master of Ethereum, leaving Guillaume Perbet with no threats on the battlefield at all.
And only a single artifact as well.
That's right, only 1 artifact. That's a basic land and a Glimmer Void. Another Master of Ethereum in hand for Guillaume. He's also got an Arcbound Ravager, a Spell Pierce, and that plating we saw from last turn. He's going to have to settle for a Master of Ethereum. Let's see what Paul's drawn for the turn.
How many cards are
A Warping Whale. He did bring it in.
Just count the rest.
Yeah, here you'll see a count of all zones except for the library. Because you know that players are playing with 60 cards, that gives you a really fast way to count the library. Which is still very large, so 2 hits of Ulamog wouldn't kill
Right. It's going to be 3 turns either way.
Exactly.
And here we go. Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger is going to trigger.
Yep.
Daddy's hungry. That's 20 cards being exiled. Now, that's not super relevant for Guillaume's game plan, though. He is going to take a look and, of course, let Paul and company. This is, to me, this is the part where having a team is really good. Having 2 or 3 players looking at these cards and noticing, hey, that's gone, or we got one of those. These are the type of things that that groups of people are much, much better than individual people at.
But you know what Owen is looking for? He's looking for Galvanic Blast.
Absolutely, and I don't think there was a single one in there.
And what does it mean? Does it mean there are none? Or that Guillaume is so much more likely to draw them now?
An Ancient Stirrings here for Paul, though, and we got our answer. No more basics. Either there weren't any more or it got exiled with that Ulamog hit. Is the United States pulling closer and closer to a match win for Paul Yim, giving them the round?
Yeah, Paul Guillaume hasn't been able to deploy his hand. He's sitting there with relatively expensive cards for his Affinity deck. He got his opponent to 6 poison and 3 life, and that kind of shows me that he didn't focus enough on one of these game plans. I believe the turn, the crucial turn was where he allowed the Ghost Quarter to take down his, or where he forced Paul to take out his Inkmoth Nexus with the Ghost Quarter.
3 cards in?
Okay, well, you said it. His hand is jammed up with some of his most expensive spells costing 2 and 3 mana, and he's just been able to deploy 1 threat per turn for the last 2 turns. That is not getting the job done. I think that Team USA is now considering just using the Oblivion Stone. Remember, Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger has Indestructible, so that will not affect the big Eldrazi. Yeah. And they're just going to content to just continually 1-for-1 and take away options from Guillaume, especially with no other creatures on the battlefield. It's just a clean way to get rid of a Ravager and use up their mana. And here we go. This will be the second to last hit. If that Ulamog gets to turn sideways one more time, the match and the round will go to the United States. If Guillaume can find Burn Spell, Galvanic Blast, is that all it is?
It seems to
Does
me
that even do it here?
It seems to me that he doesn't have them in his deck after sideboarding, and that it wouldn't be enough.
He also doesn't have Metalcraft.
Because he doesn't have Metalcraft.
Wow. He could get him to 1 if he found one, and he just can't find a threat, and he extends the hand. Paul Yim and Team United States win a squeaker. That was on the draw with Green-White Tron against Affinity, and the U.S. team finds the win and wins their round here. Big smile from Paul Yim. Congratulations to them. Now, for fans of Team France, all is not lost. That was not an elimination match. They still have another match to go, or to give, and that's going to be tough. They're going to have to win their next 2, but they're still in it.
2 elimination matches following this round for Team France.
For Team France, yeah. And when it comes to Team USA, that means that of the next 2 rounds, they just need to win 1 to advance.
Much better feeling.
Yeah, that is a big relief, especially when, it all came down to that one last game where you sit down and if you're Paul, you're like, man, Affinity on the draw, like this is tough, and they needed to squeak out every little advantage. Like you said, 6 poison, 3 life.
I didn't expect them to win.
I didn't either.
To be honest.
Yeah. They certainly weren't favored, coming into that. And I think you could kind of get that sense from the players down in the feature match area. But as things started to come along, that critical turn where the Ghost Quarter got to take out the Inkmoth Nexus, and then we saw Oblivion Stone take care of business for the rest of the board. And from then on, really just no good threats to be had from the Affinity player.
Not even the top deck potential of Galvanic Blast anymore.
Yeah, as everything went down. All right, well, that is going to do it for this round. We'll be back after these messages.
All right, welcome back to the News Desk HQ for all the fun facts here. Let's start with Pool C. Germany and Italy had buys coming in to this morning, so they've played their first match. As it turns out, they've both won. Germany beat Colombia 2-0. Sweden beat their opponents there. You see, they took care of business, Italy defeating Sweden by 2-0. What does that mean? Well, it means that Germany face Italy at 1-0. Neither of those can be eliminated next round. But that means that Sweden and Colombia, who lost their rounds, they are in elimination magic next round. One of Sweden and Colombia go home after the next round. If you're sitting pretty, like Italy are, they're feeling pretty good about themselves. They're out on the floor right now with Brian David Marshall.
Thanks, Rich. I'm here on the floor with Team Italy. Draymond Gucci, all the records get thrown out the window on day 2 here. Yeah. You went 5-2 yesterday. You got to sleep in this morning, but 1-0 is what you told me.
1-0, we are right now 1-0, and we have our best modern player, Alessandro Casamenti. He's a little unknown for you guys, but he's now 5-0 in modern. Is playing Ad Nauseam, a deck that, you know, is not really on the radar. And also in this game we had a beautiful win against Sweden. So we went Laboratory Maniac, passed the turn. They were playing Dredge. They just attacked for lethal. We went Darkness. And then Upkeep, we went Angel's Grace. And then Spoils of the Vault. And I asked him, what do you usually name with Spoils of the Vault in this case? I said Black Lotus. He said, no, I usually name Scapeshift. So we named Scapeshift, they built the whole deck, and they just, you know, couldn't draw and won the game, and then the match because Portaro won. So great performance by Italians. We're doing very well, and next round is probably Germany or Colombia, one of the two. But we're feeling very good against the matchup.
Yeah. So you just got to win one more, and then you get another round off. This is a very different tournament than probably any you've ever played in before.
No, I haven't played, but at least you have to win 2 matches. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter how many you play, you have to win 2. Yeah. So yeah, we're ready to win the next one.
All right, Team Italy.
Thanks very much, Brian David Marshall. Now, behind me is Group H. Let me tell you what's happening here. You've just seen USA squeak out the win, as Marshall said, over France. Well, what is the reward for that? Take a look at the big board. They had the bye to start with. They defeat France. That means that they are going to play the other winners in the next round. That is Turkey. So USA cannot be eliminated next round. Turkey cannot be eliminated next round. What's the penalty for France for losing to the US? Well, they got past Peru in elimination magic this morning. They're back into elimination magic right now. And as a result, they are going to face Malaysia, the number 25 overall seed. France play Malaysia this round for elimination. So France back under the gun, Levy and Desani. Well, Brian David Marshall had quite a lengthy chat with France earlier in the week, and you get to see the fruits of his labours right now.
I'm Raphael Levy, I'm 35 years old from Toulouse, France, Magic the Gathering Project Hall of Fame. I've been playing Magic for about 20-something years, and I'm here in Rotterdam to play the World Magic Cup. Jeremy Desani made it. He won the qualifier in Toulouse, my hometown, when I lost in the semifinals when I wasn't sure I would actually be in. So he won. That was an extra motivation for me to actually qualify, because we've been playing together for the last 2 or 3 years.
My name is Jeremy Zani. I'm living in Paris. I won WMCQ in Toulouse. I'm Player of the Year 2014, and I won PT Churros in 2013.
Okay, my name is Guillaume Perbet. I live in Besançon in France, and I qualify for the W for the World Cup, playing the WMCQ in Paris in Modern. I play Magic for a long time. I played my first tournament. I was 15. It was 15 years ago. I qualified 6 times for the Pro Tour, even if this one is kind of different because it's a team one. It will be great playing with great players.
All the French Magic players were like on the stream watching and rooting for us, but not only because, well, I've been around for a long time and I have friends all over the world, and these people from Australia, from South America, they were like up really late at night to watch it and like rooting for us. That was a great feeling.
Yeah, so I was at home when France did well during the tournament, and I never missed a single minute of the top 8. I saw everything. I was so exciting.
Go to my computer to look at the finals, and yeah, I knew the guys playing. I was very happy for them, and I hope it will happen to us this year as well.
Because it's not only about my country, it was friends who are playing. It's like a big feeling. Even if I'm not playing, I had a big feeling during the top 8 and during the final. So it was a great moment for me and probably for all the French community too.
Remember like dancing and jumping around when we won after we got the trophies. For the first World Magic Cup, we finished 10th, and we were so close. So the last match, the finals against Hungary, finished with a pretty dramatic moment when Timothée was down to like his last draw, and everybody was like, "Come on, Tim! Come on, just like win, like slam the top card."
Oh, you have to do it now. And when he did it, I was like, yeah, it's a Timothée I know. Timothée is never unlucky, so it's a Timothée I know. I was like, yes, you did it again. Very good.
And he didn't slam it, but he did like some pretty cool thing too.
What is it? What is it? What is it? Rakdos return! Rakdos return! And they've done it! The French have done it! That is unbelievable magic! They've won everything in the game, and now they've won the World Magic Cup!
I saw on the coverage that France have won the World Magic Cup, so I was very happy, and I heard something strange happen, something very big happen in this game. So I went to see the whole game, the whole finals, and yeah, it was incredible. The ending was very incredible. That's what Magic is. That's why Magic is so awesome. You know?
I think it was the best. He would show it to us first like this. We would see it. I just run like around, like screaming, when the opposing team didn't even know what it was, and slam Rakdos return on the board, and that was game over, and we got a title like this. That was a relief. Like winning with Team France was like big, like something to be proud of. And it was also a relief because when you get into a tournament with so much expectations, and you actually get what you're looking for, it's.
Yeah, it was definitely a special moment in the story of Magic and in the story of French Magic.
Yeah, in this tournament I'm not yet qualified for the next Pro Tour, so I hope it will be a great finish for me, but for the team as well. We'll try to do our best winning this World Magic Cup, and I think we have the team for this. We just have to be well prepared and a bit lucky, and hope it will be great.
I think this tournament is very important for us, especially for Raf, our captain. It's like he did captain a lot of time. This tournament means a lot for him, and it's a good friend of me, and I want him to be proud of me. So I have big motivation for this tournament, and I want to do well for me, but also for France and for him.
News desk, I've been joined by Brian David Marshall, and on his phone checking out all the scores on the doors, Luis Scott Vargas. Welcome along. We're going to talk Elimination Magic because that is back on the agenda this round. 16 teams won their second round, first round of the 3, if you like, in stage 1. What that means is that they're playing against the other 1-0s. They cannot be eliminated this round. Half of those will already be through to the top 16 an hour from now. But the 0-1s face off this round, and one of them goes home. We have another 8 teams being shown the door in the next round of Magic. So why don't we highlight a couple of the key matchups here. Let's go to Pool B, and here it is going to be Austria against Chinese Taipei, who have to face off because they're still alive, but they now face off. They lost their respective matches. Austria lost to Ukraine. Spain lost. Chinese Taipei lost to Spain. So Austria, Chinese Taipei is the matchup. Luis, here's the report card for these two then. So Chinese Taipei, Bogles against Infect.
I like the Infect side of that a lot more.
All right, so potentially that's 1-0 to Austria. Jund for Chinese Taipei against Titan Breach.
Oh, I like the Titan Breach side of that a lot more.
That's potentially 2-0 to Austria. And Chinese Taipei, their Infect deck against Austria's Dredge.
That one's pretty close, though. I would have to give the nod to Infect as well.
Okay, so potentially 2-1 is on Luis's scorecard. The Austrians, BDM, they're one of the teams with two big names, Valentin Mackel and Oliver Polak-Rotman, and here they are again back under the gun as they were. They've already dispatched Slovakia, though.
Yeah, two big names, second big elimination round for them, both this round and next round, again, if they make it through. Will be elimination rounds. So a lot of pressure, and probably very grateful to have the level of experience they have on their team, under these kind of like pressure cooker situations.
But that is not where we're going to start. We're going to start in Pool C, in fact, and at Pool C it is going to be Sweden against Colombia. That is going to be the big matchup to determine which one gets through. So you're going to see Lantern Control against Affinity, Infect against Bant Eldrazi, Dredge against Bushwhacker Zoo. Looking forward to seeing that one. Should be good. It's Elimination Magic once again. Colombia against Sweden coming your way right now.